It's a Monday edition here on Zero Blog 30, and today we have 5 rounds in the magazine. Round number 1, good initiative, bad judgment. A woman paid a would-be car thief to steal her own car from a repair shop. It didn't go well. I know that there's probably a bunch of Lance corporals and specialists that are thinking about doing the same thing, so we're going to give you a little bit of advice there. Don't. Round number 2, adapt, improvise, and overcome. We're going to talk a little bit about some mummified cats to make Kate really upset. Round number 3, the world is falling apart. One Swiss hotel has a remedy, and it involves a 0-star hotel. Round number 4, a new device has entered the military space. We're going to tell you if you could see naked people with it, because it's basically this thing that there's been so many devices over the last, I guess, 20 years that sci-fi stuff used to feature, like FaceTime. Like, it's crazy that, like, on the Jetsons or shows like that, where you'd be like, oh, you're talking to somebody. And as a little kid, I'm like, there's no fucking way that shit's ever going to work. Now I'm going 85 down the highway and talking to my wife on FaceTime and looking at her like while I'm doing it. It's nuts that you could do that kind of stuff. Now the battlefield is going to have one where you can look inside walls. And finally, round number 5, we're going to talk about which branch of the military would Kate join if she was doing it right now.
The sorting hat. This is the sorting hat.
It's a little bit of a military sorting hat. So we'll do Kate this week. Next week we'll do cons, and then the following week we'll do myself. We're going to start off with Kate. We have a quiz that's going to show her, is the Marine Corps right, or maybe she should go in a different direction. And all that is going to be brought to you by our good friends at Whistle Pig. If you haven't tried it yet, do it. This weekend I brought down like 3 of the 4 packs down to the pool, put them in there Friday. By Sunday, the whole squad was here, had some friends over. All of them were gone. Everybody was enjoying it. People that haven't tried it yet are shocked that it's like has so much alcohol in it, because it just tastes like a nice little breezy Sunday drink. It's not that. It has good amount of alcohol in it too. I think it's 8% alcohol by volume. If you want to try the canned cocktails, or if you just want to go straight with the Whistle Pig whiskey, go with that. They have the piggyback that's 100% rye whiskey. It's delicious. It's 96.5 proof. Go there, have it on your 4th of July barbecue, your fireworks, all that stuff. Make sure that you have Whistle Pig there. Go to whistlepigwhiskey.com or buy it from your local shop. Either way, just tag us whenever you're drinking it. We would appreciate that. Kate, you had a big weekend, went to the Pride parade with a bunch of the other Barstool folks. How was that?
It was awesome. I had debated bringing the baby because it was here in New York City and it was a toasty day, but I take him hiking in my hiking pack a good amount. And I thought, well, I'll bring the hiking pack. I got a mister and it has like this little shade tent over it. And I had a little fan. And I was like, if at any point I think it's too hot or whatever, I'll just walk back to the office and go home. Like, no big deal. He fucking crushed it. My guy, I was just talking to KB downstairs. He was like, I was with you guys all day and your son didn't cry once. And I think because truly Pride parades are the most sensory experience you can bring a toddler.
Color everywhere.
There was bubbles. There was rainbow fringe on everything. And like everyone at this parade is so kind. He was like the LGBTQ Aussies, like Australians in New York City had a group behind us. And they had these rainbow kangaroos on their shirts. So he kept going up and pointing at and they're letting him pull on like all the danglies hanging off their vehicle and like dancing with him and whatever. It was the best day. Everyone was so nice. And it was just awesome to see, like in light of everything that's going on right now, it just made me feel very hopeful. Like, oh my God, look at the huge amount of people here, not just in the parade, but on the sidelines showing their love and support. Was like oh yeah, this is the reality. We're out there, allies, LGBTQ. I don't know. It just felt really great. And also, to make this about myself, that's it. I had a bunch of gear in the bottom of the pack. I had my son. I was probably carrying about 40 pounds total, my friends.
Yeah, doing a little light.
I did that from noon to like 6 p.m.
Where you broke off the next day?
Around the seat. By the time I got home and got the pack off, I was like, I feel like I got hit by a bus.
Yeah.
But I did it. I was crying. And he was like, so he loves, as soon as I got him out of the pack, he ran back over to it and like wanted to get back in. So whatever. So but you know, it was a delight. And the moral of the story is the old gal still got it.
Are you now reinvigorated? Hold on.
Great legs that I've got.
Are you reinvigorated and you were going to get on a health kick journey? Did I see?
I was going to start it today. I know I've been so after the shore when I'm eating pork roll, egg and cheesers and my cream filled donuts every day. And maybe I had a couple cigarettes at night and maybe I was boozing a little more than normal and whatever.
We've all been there.
We've all been there. And I said, I'm going to start. And then this morning walking to work, I was like, I could go for a bacon, egg and cheese on a croissant and a Butterfinger. And so that's what I did. So fuck.
And you can eat great for like 4 or 5 days and you completely blow it up and everything's gone out the window, essentially. We had salad week like 2 weeks ago. And then wouldn't you know what, a Costco order comes in and it's like a big old bucket of cookies and shit like that. I'm like, well, I don't want these to go to waste. So I'll eat like 15.
That'd be a waste of money.
Right.
I don't want to be full. In this economy, you think I'm going to waste food? No shot. I also want to mention, if you're listening just on the audio versions, cons look this is the most officer cons might have looked in the history of the show. A tailor-made, not just hat, but a visor. Is that a visor? Yeah. And it's the thick visor. It's not the thin one. This is like, I've been coaching college football since 1964, and I'm going to wear this visor, and it's the same one. Cons, unbelievable.
Well, I had to do it. I got to shout out our good friends there at TaylorMade. Did you guys see the brand new bag I got?
Looked sweet,
I didn't see it.
All right,
pirate dog on it and everything.
Yeah, it's got the pirate dog logo on it and everything, and it got my monogram because I mean you have to monogram if you're gonna have anything in this world.
Yep,
I'm gonna send it to Chaps real quick, but I just have to say thank you to TaylorMade. I feel like I'm thanking them a lot these days because they just keep providing amazing things for my golf game. And
I wonder if we got the same bag.
No, mine's one of one.
Oh no, it's not the same one. It looks nice though. Yours looks nice. Mine's green. Yours is blue. It looks beautiful. Well done.
Yeah,
Cons.
thank you very much. And they're just awesome people.
I had a great weekend this weekend. I agree with Kate. Like going to the Pride parades is just so much fun. We went to Pride Night at the zoo a couple weeks ago, and it was fantastic. You had people up on stilts. They had all the animals that were out. Everybody was going nuts. There was like a jaguar there, and everybody was just so happy. And I know this is the episode right after the first episode that we've had since Roe was actually overturned. Look, the shitty news is everywhere you possibly look. You know what we're going to say. We've said it a lot of it largely already. If you want to go back and listen to the episode that we did whenever the announcement was leaked, I believe it was the middle of May, Kate talks about her personal journey. If you want to listen to our thoughts on that, go back to that episode. We're not going to rehash a lot. At the end of the show, we're going to tell you some of the things how this, now that it is overturned, how it's going to affect military members and veterans and what to do so that you're not as affected as much, or how to get around some of these laws if you're in a crazy red state, which like 50% of the military is. So we're going to tell you about that at the end of the show. I have some more good news at the start of the show, though.
Good news.
McCartney this morning, we're on our way to school. McCartney goes, "Dad, what do you think I should do whenever I grow up?" And I was like, well, like whatever you want to do. I'm like, you love animals, so being a veterinarian wouldn't be a bad option for you. And I said, well, my personality is a lot like yours. You think I would like the Marines? And I said, maybe you would. Like, you love doing outside stuff and taking risks and jumping off of things. Like, you would probably like that. And McCartney goes, yeah, but I don't want to get shot at and I don't want to go to war. And I said, well, then maybe the Marine Corps is not for you.
Yeah, might not be.
They said, listen, I know like you didn't die, but like what percentage of people that join the Marines die in combat? I was like,
these are some heavy questions for a Monday.
Very small. Like it's very small. They're like, so you could theoretically join and a lot of your friends are going to be fine. And I was like, yeah, you're going to have some stuff. They're like, we just got to stop this war. It was like an unbelievable conversation on our way to YMCA. McCartney really going through it if they were going to go into the Marines or not. I don't think they will, but
Coast Guard.
You never know. Yeah. And then secondly, I've talked a lot I don't know if I've talked about the shows that I watch at night on this show. I know I have on Podfathers. I'm addicted to Discovery Plus. Do you guys? I know Kate does and watches the 1,000-Pound Sisters. There is a new show, Kate. It's called Extreme Sisters. And so the sisters, they have multiple sets of extreme sisters. One set, identical twins, and they continue to dress alike. They are so identical and have a desire to be so identical. They date the same person. They date one man. They have sex at the same time.
What?
Oh, no.
Yes.
Oh, no.
And they do think like if they're cooking and they're grating a carrot, one will be like, okay, I'm going to grate it 25 times. The other one 25 times. So when they're saying that, like if I'm vacuuming, I vacuum 10 stripes. She does 10 stripes. And I look at Annalise, I was like, that guy has to count the amount of pumps that he does with each woman. There's no chance, because they go into a fertility doctor, and this is just one set of the twins. They go into a fertility doctor and they say, we want to get pregnant at the exact same time. What if we make him come into a bowl and then we put half of it in me, half of it in her? Will that make both of us pregnant at the same time? And the look on the fertility doctor's face is like, this is fucking insane. But as a doctor, you can't say like, this is insane. You kind of have to figure out a way to do it. And then eventually he's like, this is not going to work. Like mathematically, scientifically, it's not. You could try to get pregnant as one woman. You could try to get pregnant for 7 months at a time and not happen. The odds of you both getting pregnant at the exact same time and delivering, it just not going to happen. That's one set. There's another set that are psychics. I'm not going to give all the sets away, but this one of them is psychics. And they got into a big argument because one of the psychic sisters is in a relationship and the other psychic sister doesn't like it. They like to be synced up all the time, including periods. One of them is in the bathroom, and she goes, hey, can you bring me a tampon? And the other sister looks almost incredulously at her. And she's like, did you just start your period? She's like, yeah. She's like, I didn't start mine. Why did you start yours? Like, we should be synced up. And she's like, I don't know. I did. Can you grab me a tampon? So the one sister that started her period is sitting on the couch. The other sister comes back into the room and she goes, I need some pang pang, is what she says. Some pang pang. Huh? And Annalise and I are like, what the fuck is pang pang?
I'm afraid to find out.
The sister that's not on her period sits down on the couch by the sister that is on the period. She puts her head in the sister's who has her period's lap and starts sniffing and like wafting in the pheromones, is what she's saying. And she's like, if I take in these pheromones, then I'll start my period. And they're having a conversation.
Yeah, that's what we did at 4th Battalion in boot camp.
Yeah. They're having a conversation.
We called it a pang pang line and we all lined up and we all
right, get that pang pang over here right down now.
Yeah, sure.
Who's got that fucking pang pang that's leaking? So she's sitting there and like wafting it in for like 10 minutes. The next scene, the woman is like, I started my period today. Like the next day, she starts her period. I was reading research papers last night at like 11:30. If you sniff somebody's period, does that make you start your period? Turns out it can.
What?
It's insane. Yeah.
What?
I'll be honest. The description you just gave of this show for the last 2 minutes or so, I think could serve as a deterrent from ever watching Discovery Plus. Because
it's fantastic.
I'm intrigued. I'm in. I've watched a few shows of twin sisters where they're so up each other's ass, it ruins their relationships and their marriages.
That makes sense.
There's one set. There's 2 sets of twins, girl twins, boy twins. They're both adults. They married each other. So you have 2, and they all dress exactly the same. So you have these 2 that are going in. They bought this enormous house. All 4 of them are attorneys and they live in the same house together. They go to this furniture store and they're looking at huge couches. They're like, why do you want huge couches? And all the time I'm thinking, living together as 2 twins that are married together, I think that's actually pretty normal. If you've done everything together your whole lives, being together your whole life, they still dress exactly the same. One of these, the dudes are like 6'3", probably 220, 230 pounds, and they're dressed exactly the same. To me, that's the biggest red flag in the history of the world.
Yeah,
it's 2 grown men.
Absolutely the fuck not. Well, you know where they all meet? At the big Twins Festival in Twinsburg, Ohio every year. They have this festival where twins from around the world, like thousands of them, and a lot of them go specifically looking for like twin sisters who dress the same still in their 30s, will go specifically looking for those red flaggy guys who are also twins still dressing the same.
You know who I don't like are the twins who act as though they accomplished something and they're very special when in fact it was just by happenstance and luck that whatever they grew up and had a twin. They did nothing to do that.
Like someone who's too proud of their large family.
Yeah. Like, you know, it's just weird to be overly exuberant about something you had no control over.
These twins, the 2 that are married to each other, they've been married for 4 or 5 years, had never even gone out to dinner with their individual spouse. Never.
That's weird, man. That's weird.
What's insane.
Where do they live?
Like, I don't remember what state they live in, but they went out to dinner
I want to avoid
And the
them.
two people that were trying to have a conversation, they couldn't even talk to each other. Like, because the other ones weren't there, they had to take a bathroom break, and they're both FaceTiming the other twin in the middle of their dinner. And I just am so baffled that somebody chooses to live their life that way. The dudes, twins that are in their like 30s, maybe even 40s, are like crying on TV because they had to go to dinner away from their other twin. It's fascinating TV show. It's incredible content. Bizarre, but incredible.
I'll be watching that tonight, my friend. Tune in to the next episode of Zero Block 30 to hear about the other twins on the show.
If you're not paying $7.95 a month for Discovery Plus, you're a fucking idiot, because it's the best TV on. I mean, you can have all kinds of normal TV shows. There's all kinds of crime that happens, and people are going to investigate that. You don't get weird ass twin sisters married to weird ass twin brothers anywhere else except for Discovery Plus and here on Zero Block 30. True. All right, let's move into round number 1 today, because we had a lot of stuff to talk about here. This story made me pretty upset, because it's just like, you're just so this is an aggressively stupid person that does this.
I was actually going to say this is fucking brilliant, and I can't believe you think this is stupid. But I feel like maybe if you found the right mechanic to go through, this mechanic very clearly pays attention to what's going on. Well, I still think it's a brilliant idea, and I'd like to see more of it. Coming to us from Gray News in Cincinnati, a woman in Ohio allegedly paid someone to steal her car from an auto shop rather than paying the full $3,500 she owed for repairs. That's brilliant.
Why is that brilliant?
Steal your own car back off the lot so you don't have to pay for your repairs?
But why would you do that to this mom and pop auto shop that probably relies on this money to support their family?
Why would you do that, you piece
What's
of
wrong
shit?
with you? They probably have a little cash at home themselves. They're trying to pay their bills and buy their groceries, and you're suggesting that you take
what if
food out of
Cash's
that
first job? What is Cash's first job? He's a mechanic, and he's going and he's working on this woman's car. He's got to feed his kid, your grandkid, and you're like cheering him on that somebody's gonna steal. Unbelievable.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying it's a smart idea.
By saying it's smart, it implies that it's right.
Yeah,
surveillance video showed the hired suspect driver hit an employee with the car on their getaway. Ketu Veal, owner of Ketu's Auto Group in Cincinnati, says 28-year-old Torella Lewis brought her car in for repairs, but when it came time to pay, she didn't have the money. The cost was also subject to rise without payment, as Lewis risked accumulating additional storage fees while her car languished at Veal's shop. Veal said he offered to help her by moving the car to his secondary location, where it remained parked while she worked things out. So this is extra shitty of her, because this guy was trying to help her. I put it on the street right here for maybe 10 minutes, Veal said. Then I went into the side of the building. I'm walking into the building. I hear the car alarm go off, like the chirp of the alarm. So I turn around and saw the guy running to get to her front seat. Veal said he thought the person behind the wheel was attempting to steal from the car or steal the car itself. Everyone who comes to my business, I protect their car like it's mine, Veal said. It would hurt my heart to know that someone's property got taken while it was in my possession. No, I feel that Veal's clearly he's a good
fella. But also
an honest business.
It's coming from the media perspective. This guy could be charging way more money than he needs to. We don't know any of that stuff.
We don't know. Could it be taking advantage of a woman?
Right. Maybe and we don't know her position. Like, what if she's really broke and like the economy's struggling, gas prices are high, she's got no money, she's got to get to work. Occasionally, you got to be like Aladdin and steal the fucking bread with a boot.
Exactly. But she should have tried a little harder. Police claim in an affidavit that Lewis gave the suspect a key to her car and paid them only $30 to steal it so she could avoid paying the repair costs.
Whoever did this, whoever agreed to steal the car, little Grand Theft Auto for 30 fucking bones.
Yeah.
Buddy, you got to rise. In this economy, you got to have those
pump those numbers up.
You got to pump the numbers up. Surveillance video showed
you need a $200 retainer in your back pocket.
You do. Veal jogged to the entrance and stood directly in front of the car. He says he told the person to get out, but the driver then accelerated into him for $30. You can't be doing attempted manslaughter, my friends. You cannot be running people over. And he was dragged down Central Avenue.
And this woman's probably like, why did you try to run him over? You've added all kinds of shit.
Yeah. It was definitely an experience while on the ride, Veal said. Once he hit the brakes, that's when the hard part kicked in. My back still hurts from it. Phil said if he had known, he would not.
The VA
have
would be
attempted to
like,
stop
not
the car.
service related.
Yeah, not
You're
service
gonna get that.
related.
Yeah.
The only reason I stood in front of this car was so that he didn't take your property and put you in a worse situation. And you were the person who sent them down here the whole time, he said.
What should he have? There's one phrase that he should have said, and we've been saying it a lot in my house. Do you guys know what it is?
No.
Kate as a mom, Nick as a dad, has got to be right in your wheelhouse. This phrase.
I'm disappointed in you.
Very close. You should be ashamed of yourself.
You should be ashamed of yourself. You're right. That's.
I don't say that to my little princess. I don't think I.
Not
perfect.
Yet. Not yet.
But I will.
Great.
But I will.
In the past couple of years, so I did the military connection. In the past couple of years, we've done several stories where up-armored Humvees have been stolen from California National Guard.
One was by a lieutenant.
One was by a lieutenant out in
yeah.
Fort Drum. One was stolen out in Fort Drum and more places. What if it's not people stealing? What if there's a conspiracy? Chaps, you always talk about the funding that the different units get every year. What if they're pocketing that funding and getting rid of these Humvees sneakily on the side and staying there getting stolen? And really, they're all going to see Gravedigger. They're using that extra money to go see a cool monster truck show or to get a new TV for the
Gravedigger
office.
puts asses in the seats. I don't
He
care
really
what
does.
business you're in. If you work for a Fortune 500 company and you're out working down on Wall Street, somebody says Gravedigger's out front, you're going to give it a look.
You're leaving the
Can
floor.
I tell you?
Yeah.
I think I remember ads on television shows growing up during the commercials for more monster truck shows. And I don't know that. I do know. I've never been to a monster truck show, but I don't know that I know anybody who's been to a
not,
monster truck show.
officer.
For as
Absolutely,
much-
you do. You're looking at one right now, and
Oh,
you also know
there you
Clem
go.
and M.
Oh, all right. There you go.
Clem is a huge hip. Clem and AJ love going.
Oh,
As soon as my
really?
son's old
Mhm.
enough.
Yeah,
Okay.
any kid loves. I used to go to the Jacksonville Coliseum. I actually seen Gravedigger,
Mhm.
and they had Bigfoot too, and he was
Yep.
incredible.
See, I
she,
remember all
don't know.
these. I remember all these from the commercials from when I was watching, Saved by the Bell, but I don't recall anyone ever actually going to them. But it's nice to know that we're keeping the monster truck business going.
Yeah.
I
You know
used to
what
think
that-
the monster truck business was a lot like the WWE as far as budget goes.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you think about it, every week you're putting 15, 20 cars in there just to get smashed. That's not cheap.
Yeah, but aren't there probably scrap lots where they get those from?
I don't know. Let's move on to round number 2. What do we got here, Kate?
Number 2, the full disclosure, if you're listening, I
Wait,
just had a
time out. You
yawn
sure
that
you don't
came
wanna
out of
go
nowhere.
You don't want to go deeper into the monster truck industry?
Oh, I do, but not on this show. I need to start a new podcast for that. We have almost every single avenue covered here at Barstool. We got fucking golf. We got football, baseball, basketball, pop culture. We got The Bachelor, anything that you want to listen to. We don't have a monster truck pod.
It's a new vertical. Just waiting to be
WWE
tapped.
kids were definitely monster truck kids. Were definitely rat tail kids.
No, I think WCW kids were definitely the
Oh.
Bigfoot.
Nassau,
Fair.
because the Nassau Coliseum used to have it all the time. And that was what they
Mhm.
used to run shows there all the time.
Now it's at Meadowlands. It's at like the Giants and Jets Stadium.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. It's a big deal. They put,
Mhm.
like you said, it puts asses in seats.
It
So,
does. All right, let's
Hmm.
move on to round number 2.
Round number 2. Ancient Egypt was nuts about cats, as you surely know. They had cat gods, cat statues, cat Instagram accounts, cat temples. And if you came by and killed a cat, even by mistake, you could expect a crowd to lynch you on the spot. Of course, maybe they were really lynching you because you were Roman and they didn't like the look of you. But the fact that they could use the killing of a cat as pretext says something.
I actually went and looked this up because I was like,
Mhm.
that doesn't sound right. They not only that, but if a man killed a cat and it belonged to another family and it was like one of the family's cats, they not only killed the man, they killed his entire family too. Like they
That's
took
rough.
it fucking serious.
Holy shit. Oh my
yeah,
God.
they weren't fucking around.
They even made cats into mummies, just as they did with people. Back around 1350 BC, they mummified Ta Mew, the cat belonging to Prince Thutmose. Long time, Julie.
Yeah.
Prince Thutmose. They even gave the cat its own limestone sarcophagus. Mummify a cat this way, and the goal was to send it to the afterlife to accompany its human.
So
I would
there's
like
this
that.
show on Netflix. If you guys haven't seen it yet, and if you like any type of mummy shit or ancient Egypt stuff, they unearthed this new, it's essentially a different pyramid that was covered completely by sand that they didn't know it was there for a long time. One of the main rulers for like 30 years in Egypt was buried in this pyramid. They looked for it forever and they finally found it. They go down into these tombs that are deep, deep inside the earth. And they had mummified lions and tigers and hundreds of cats. Like they were pulling them out and they were just wrapped like little rags. And people were like, well, what is this? Like the workers there. And the guy that was in charge, the PhD archaeologist, was like, oh, that's all cats. Like each one of these little one's a cat. They open up the big one like, oh, it's a fucking lion here, full-size lion, because they believed that if you mummified it with the people, then the animal got to go to heaven with you. They would take the little trip along with you.
What?
Mhm.
I gotta do that with spork. I would like that very much. I
Mhm.
really enjoy that. So you were talking about these mass cat graves. In 1888, an Egyptian farmer unearthed one of these graves containing hundreds of thousands of cats.
Mhm.
Some were in good enough condition that anyone would want one. But the rest,
I disagree.
Yeah, I disagree. That
If
is
you
not
like, hey
true.
chaps, you want this mummified cat? My answer is instantly no, I don't.
Yeah,
So
'cause what are you doing with a mummified cat?
Nothing. I'm trying to find somebody else to take it off my hands.
Exactly.
in Europe, people ate bits of these mummies for their presumed medicinal properties and a distilled pigment from they use like distilled pigment from the mummies for
And these aren't
paint.
cat mummies. This is they're eating parts of people mummies.
Oh, human mummies. They were digging up so
Ugh.
many back then. I mean, I always wonder about like the ethics of that. Like everywhere in the world, we're like, wow, we found this old grave. Let's dig it up and see. That's like 300 years from now. They're in our graveyards digging
I'm
us up
fine with
and
it. I think the statute of limitations should be probably 50 years. After 50 years,
50?
yeah, I
50?
think
You still have family members who are
I
alive
say
at 50 to come
500.
see you.
I mean, at most 75.
I say 500.
500 years.
I'm going
Yes,
500
500
plus.
years.
Yeah.
Then it's way more
500.
exciting.
What are
It's way
you
more
guys doing
exciting.
so important that somebody can't dig you up? I mean,
You
my
don't know.
God,
You don't know. I might do something.
you're not. None of us are going to
No.
do anything where they're going to want to dig us up. It'll be happenstance if somebody digs us up.
Well, so this one company bought 180,000
Yeah, 180,000.
180,000 cat mummies weighing 19.5 tons and had the cat
Fucking-
mummies shipped to England. They auctioned
20
the mummies
tons
off
of fucking dead cats.
of dead cats.
Shit ton of cats.
But that has to be demoralizing as the ship driver who like you're normally hauling cool loads.
What
and
are you
you're-
hauling back there?
to
Well, I
dead
got more
cat.
pussy you could shake a stick at.
Yeah, exactly. They said that at my bachelorette party on a pontoon boat too.
I did. I remember you saying that.
That's right. They auctioned the mummies off for a final price of £5, 17 shillings, and 6 pence a ton. I don't know what the fuck that means.
I don't either, but you're sixpence none the richer. Whenever you got
That's what I was thinking. I'm trying to work it in.
Yeah.
the milky twilight.
How many cats you got there? 180,000. Well, my goodness gracious. That's so many cats.
But they ground that Liverpool, people in Liverpool bought these dead cats. Of course they did. That's classic Liverpool. They
Mhm.
ground the cats up and sprinkled them on crops as fertilizer. I don't know. Is corpse a good fertilizer? Do we
Yeah.
know?
Probably.
I don't know with the amount
Think
of
about this,
formaldehyde
Kate.
and things like that, like if they're all the mummification, but dead things, definitely. That's
Dead
what
things,
you always
yeah.
use.
I mean, the fields of poppies that all grew up from the fields of World War I. How do you think that happened?
Mhm.
Not from bodies that grew up
Yes.
because
Oh,
no
sunflower
no.
seeds.
Oh my god!
But no, the bodies in the soil made it very fertile and allowed all that other process to take
Yeah, it's
place.
like-
no,
it's
it's
like
the
a
poppy
compost.
seeds need air pockets and sunlight to get through, and all the bombs crinkling up the ground allowed for that. It wasn't bodies.
It was bodies.
I can read a book sometime, sir.
don't
And
know what the
another
bodies hit the
clip
floor.
with Cons being wrong about military history.
I wasn't wrong.
Mhm.
That wasn't wrong.
My goodness.
Mhm.
That story has nothing to do with the military, obviously. But when I came across it, I mean, you're talking millions of cats went around places because it worked. Like the story goes on to say that whenever they used this crops, it was one of the biggest surpluses that they had of crops that they had in recent history. So then they started to import more and more cats, and eventually the cat business dries up. You can't
It does.
have
You're right. There's
thousands of years of cats just readily available.
Right.
Eventually, you run to the bottom of the pit.
Man, oh man, I had no idea that was do you think if I say I die,
Mhm.
Mm.
can I request like I would like to be mummified?
Yeah, you could do whatever you want. I already said that I want to be put in. There's this huge banyan tree, like Japanese, or no, it's not Japanese. It's this Hawaiian graveyard that we visited in Hawaii, where they will take your ashes and turn them into another banyan tree, and then ship it and plant it somewhere in Hawaii. I would love to do that.
That's
I want to
pretty
be a
cool.
tree. Yeah, I want to be a
That's
tree.
pretty cool. Yeah.
I don't care what happens with me. I can see me being a medical donor as long as they don't roast, like under the caveat, like your students aren't allowed to speak. Like nobody can roast me or talk about me.
What about if we freeze you
Okay.
solid? Like I'm talking about with dry ice, and then take you to like a hockey rink and we slide you across the ice and we try to get you exactly in the corner, like the DVD on The Office when it finally hits perfectly in the corner.
I would allow that. I would absolutely allow that. Or like put me in the Body Worlds exhibit, but it's just my veins in the shape of a body now. But that way I get to live on for kids being like, ooh.
Cons, would you want to be like Dolores?
That would be pretty awesome.
Oh
If you
yeah,
don't
send me
remember-
off
out
to
there. Yeah,
send me
into
off to
oblivion.
military experimentation.
Mhm.
Have
Mhm.
some
That'd be pretty
artillery
cool.
rounds blow me up.
I
I really
would
don't
love
care.
that, honestly. That would be incredible.
Mhm.
If you, because you can do it precision. What one body, frozen body, would look like with like a tomahawk missile going through it would be unreal.
Wait, can I
Yeah.
time out? Well, so keep this, but can we each? Who knows what order we're gonna die in? The three of
Right.
us. If I
Wow,
had
let's
to
think
guess,
about that right now.
Then if
let's
I
think
had
about
to
this right
guess,
now.
I'm first.
Oh,
Absolutely.
no way. I'm a fucking piece of shit. I'm dying first. I'm having a huge heart attack.
Yeah, Cons is gonna live the longest. He'll be a kindly old grandpa out golfing, and he'll think of us sometimes. But what if whoever of us dies first, we all have to get frozen until the last of us dies. Then they put all three of us in a Humvee out on an artillery range, and ZBT viewers get to watch a live cam. They'll all be super old by then.
Imagine the
But
clicks.
they'll get to have one last show where they get to watch the three of us get blown sky high.
I'm going to go back in a minute. I also watched this documentary about anthills this weekend. And there's this.
Bro, what are you doing with your time?
Yeah, what are you doing?
I don't know. There's this huge field where they were like following these ants around. And the guy was like, it feels like these are the type of ants that we're looking for. So they bring in these cement trucks and they have like 4 or 5 different cement trucks. And they start putting a thinned out version of cement down into the anthill. And when they do it, it takes like 3 full cement trucks to fill up this anthill. When they wait like a week and then they come back and they start to do like an excavation of the site. It looks legitimately like an underground town from like Tron, that movie.
Yeah.
Tron,
Yeah.
with like the everywhere, and you could see how deep it is. Some of them went down, the anthill went down like 30 meters into the ground, and they said that they calculated how many ants were there. They said that they would have had to move the amount to get that dirt out. It would have been 100 tons of dirt that these ants had to move to make this anthill.
Holy
Just
shit.
crazy stuff.
Damn. You know, it's weird. When I was a little kid, this ties into both the Egypt and ants. When I was a kid, I was a little bit of a loner sometimes, a little bit of a dork.
Mhm.
And I would spend hours and hours drawing the inside of anthills and pyramids. So like the ants would all be characters and there'd be different chambers. Like this is the trampoline anthill room. And this is the
I love it. Yeah. Because I used to think, did you put
Richie
yourself
Rich
in the position of the ant?
Yes.
Like whenever you're walking, like, look at this huge bitch. Like I thought, what happens if there's something 1,000 times bigger than us or whatever it is? I would be terrified. I bet ants are terrified when you're hovering over.
Yeah.
I would agree. Kate,
Yeah.
question. Because of who you are now, how does your family view you? Your extended family, the family that came from 13 children.
Some of them ask me for t-shirts every now and then, but that's about it. Other than that, I don't think they give a shit at all. Truly.
If you're worried about your family not liking you, make sure you go to BetterHelp because life can be overwhelming and many people are burned out without even knowing it. Symptoms can include a lack of motivation, irritability, fatigue, and so much more. We associate burnout with work, but it can't be just that. It can be looking at the news, doom scrolling. There was several times this weekend because I've done so much therapy. I know what's good for me and what's bad for me. I was just sitting in my office on Friday, scrolling, looking at the different news that was popping up, the different takes, how it's going to affect different people and things like that. And I had to put it down eventually because you can be wrapped up in all of the news, but eventually you have to kind of step away and realize that sitting in your office, sitting in your house is not going to do anything. Doom scrolling. You have to take a break from that. I understand that we have to think about it, and we know the consequences of what's happening and things like that, but you can't allow yourself to be completely bogged down. You still have to keep putting one foot in front of the other, and having somebody like BetterHelp remind you of that along the way is always great. Go to with BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/0, and you're going to get 10% off your first month at BetterHelp.com/0. Let's move on to round number 3. What do we got there, Kate?
We're heading over to Switzerland, my friends.
That's just real quickly. That's on my bucket list. Got to go to Switzerland.
Oh
Me
yeah,
too.
big time.
Gotta go to Switzerland.
Chocolates, Mozart balls.
Exactly.
Isn't that where you
right.
get your Mozart balls? Anyways,
Yep.
I couldn't
I think
sleep.
you're thinking Sweden, but that's fine.
Yeah, I couldn't sleep, and my room was too noisy. Maybe complaints that hoteliers dread from guests, but for the Reichlen brothers, that is the entire point of their latest 0-star hotel art installation. The Swiss
And
concept.
before we get into it, I want just to put a disclaimer. This is only for super rich people. This is something that only like the uber rich would do. This is not something of somebody who is living paycheck to paycheck. You're not like, let me go find the most miserable hotel in the world that I'm going to go stay there.
Right. This is rich people with time on their hands kind of thing. The Swiss concept artist hotel room is essentially a double bed on a platform beside 2 bedside tables and lamps. There are no walls, ceiling, or doors to provide any privacy or shelter.
Call that shit a squad bay.
They have set up their Nullstern suite, German for 0-star, on a roadside next to a petrol station in the village of Ceylon in the southern Swiss canton of Valais.
See, now, if you just heard that description on a roadside next to a petrol station, the village of Ceylon in the southern Swiss canton of Valais, or whatever the fuck that is, I think that's fancy.
Fancy
That's
as fuck. Fancy as
Anything
fuck.
in Europe to Americans sounds like the fanciest shit in the world.
Mhm.
Yeah, because it's a bunch of words that we don't really pronounce all that well. So you're
Mhm.
like, oh, must be great.
Must be
But
fancy.
essentially, you're sleeping on a small bed outside next to a gas station.
Right.
The intention is to make guests think about the problems in the world, the twin brothers said. And funnily enough, they're married to just one woman who fucks both of them. And she's
They're
trying to
twins,
get
yeah.
pregnant with
Mhm.
each of their sperms at the same time.
Weird twin radio.
Weird twin radio. They've created similar beds in idyllic spots, but this is their first anti-idyllic site. But you're supposed to lay there and think about the problems of the world and be inspired to act differently. Sleep is not the point, said Frank Ricklin. Frank Ricklin. What's important is reflecting about the current world situation. Staying here is a statement about the need for urgent changes in society.
Is it?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm like a bleeding heart, artsy fartsy person. And even I want to vomit on my shoes reading that. Guests are invited in their half sleep to consider topics like climate change, war, and humanity's endless quest for perfection.
Like, how does that not have more descriptors there? Because to me, that sounds like you're halfway asleep and somebody comes in. Hey, you ever think about plastics and how it's affecting sea turtles?
Can I say though,
Right?
I would love to be that person who comes in and whispers though.
Oh my God. It'd be like,
You'd be great at it.
because it's like whenever you're sleeping over when you're little, I was always the kid that didn't want to go to sleep. I'm
Mhm.
laughing. I'm keeping everybody else up. I want to do that. You do that and you make people sad. Like, oh, you think you're going to get a little restful sleep there?
Yeah.
Not
Chaps,
while
what
there's
was your,
plastic forks.
Mhm.
What would your go-to to keep everybody awake at night at a sleepover? I'm picturing you saying like, hey guys, you guys want to fart in a jar? Or
Oh
something
yeah,
of
those
that
big time
nature?
fart noises. Yeah.
You know what I used to do? I used to pretend to sleepwalk. And I would play it so straight that they'd be like, oh my God, I think she's really sleepwalking. And I would just be going around knocking stuff off shelves and whatever. And it
Like
crushed.
Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly and Step
Yeah.
Brothers.
Yeah.
putting
So
the
every
fucking
time things
pillows
would
in there.
quiet down, I would get up again and I'd start moving around and they'd be like, oh my God, there she goes. Oh,
Here she
yeah.
goes again.
And then we'd all be riled up again and we get to start all over.
You would get
Um,
riled up. Yeah.
No one
Totally.
told you though. No one tells you when you're growing up, like getting married isn't like a fun sleepover. Like you would think like having a permanent sleepover partner would be a lot of fun, but it's not always.
I
No.
enjoy it. I like getting on Annalise's nerves. I think because at night I like because we watch shows
Oh.
like that. Getting on her nerves is the highlight of my life.
Mhm.
Dude, sometimes a lot of nights, for whatever reason, I have a shit ton of energy in the evening time, like past 8 o'clock, and I'll like get all rambunctious, and that just annoys Alex to no end. And I think those are the times she really wants to throw me out the window.
You're basically her 1-star hotel.
Yes, I am
essentially
living 1-star hotel.
Exactly. Yeah. In a nutshell, now is not the time to sleep. We have to react, said Patrick. If we continue in the same direction we are today, there might be more anti-idyllic places than idyllic.
True.
The project, which has been developed with hotelier Daniel Charbonnier, also features I hate these people so much.
I know.
Also features 3 further Noel Stern suites in a more idyllic vineyard and on a picturesque hillside. The suites, which come with butler service offering drinks and breakfast, will be available from July through September. The price for an imperfect night's sleep, $337.
Yo,
And the
get
worst
out of
part is
here.
like people will
It's
pay
fucking
this.
insane.
Well, yeah, because people want to be able to go to this little experience and say like, oh, you don't care about the world. Like when I say I have no interest in going here, then automatically I'm a terrible person and they're better than me because they've gone to the 0-star hotel and thought about climate change.
I feel like this is the rich liberal version of the man camps.
Yeah.
Where you go and do something to feel like you've done something, but really you haven't done anything. Yeah.
Right.
And I thought $337, maybe that's cheap for Switzerland because, like if you go out to San Francisco, you're going to pay more money than you do here in San Antonio for a hotel. So I thought Switzerland, that's going to be expensive. Everything in Switzerland is fucking expensive. But no, dude, I just looked up Switzerland hotels. You can go to the Zurich Marriott Hotel right now, which is a 5-star hotel for just $500 a night. And they have the Crown Plaza in Zurich that's only $200 a night. So you're paying $150, $200 a month or a night more just to go be miserable. That's the richest shit I've ever heard. That's just rich as shit.
But I also hate that part of me is a little curious.
Yeah.
Well,
that's because you stay in hostels and shit like that.
That's true. That is true. But
I will say, I'm looking at these pictures. The bed does look very inviting. It does look extremely comfortable and a very nice bed.
Yeah.
So they got that going for them.
You know what I would probably do if I stayed there? I would sneakily slink under the covers and then sleek down the side of the bed and then sneak underneath the bed. And so when the person came in 2 a.m. to whisper to me about something bad in the world, I would grab their ankle and go,
"Ooh, got your goose."
Got your goose, is what I would say.
One other thing I just thought of though, too.
Gotten Sie goosen.
Maybe these guys have something figured out.
That's it.
Oh,
with consent.
We don't goose
With
anymore. Okay. It's
consent.
2022. Oh,
With consent.
may I goose you to scare you? Oh,
Yeah.
by all means.
Excuse me, may I goose you? Yeah.
I got my goose right here.
Yeah.
Maybe they have something figured out, like sleeping next to a gas station. Everybody loves the smell of gasoline, right?
I love the smell of gas.
So maybe sleeping next to it.
What's your
Although
favorite,
probably not healthy, might be
favorite
interesting.
common scent of a new item?
Oh,
One of
man.
the ones that automatically come into my brain every time beach balls. I love the smell of a new beach ball
Mhm.
and a new garden hose. Like the taste of water and the smell of water coming out of a brand new garden hose. Unreal.
Is a delight.
I would say anything brand new leather, I think, has a great smell.
Ooh, good call. And the new 0 Block 30 shirts in the Barstool store. When you
Yes,
crack
those
open,
are unbelievable.
not
I
a
actually
great
think those
smell.
smell like shit.
They do. They smell like shit. You gotta wash.
There's like a
them.
sticker on it to like wash it, it'll go away.
It's like don't. There's a sticker that's like don't mind the smell. It's just.
and then it goes away. It comes off.
and then it goes
completely.
away. Yeah. Oh man, that's a delight.
One that
Anyway.
you didn't mention was shoes. I love the smell of new shoes. If you want to smell the new shoes or new boots, go with our
Yeah.
friends at Rocky Boots, because Rocky Boots builds boots for the men and women that serve and protect the country. If you're a law enforcement officer, if you're a firefighter, if you're an EMT, if you're a teacher, if you're whatever, you can be wearing a little bit of boots from Rocky Boots. They have you covered. Go to rockyboots.com, enter the promo code ZBT at checkout for 25% off your next pair of boots. So if you're just stomping around and being out on the mountains by West Point like Kate was when she was by herself, if you're going out to Jersey Shore and you want to do a little bit of a beach hike along with the ruck like Cons likes to do or should do, make sure that you're wearing Rocky Boots. Or if you're lacing up the boots to get into the squared circle like our guy Nick, make sure you're wearing Rocky Boots. Go to rockyboots.com and then promo code ZBT at checkout for 25% off your next pair of boots. Let's move on to round number 4. Finally, a military topic. What do we got here?
All right. Hold on. Oh, Katie.
He's getting
Katie
it.
Goofball is
Mhm.
goofing around. Okay, here we go, folks. Here we go. This comes to us from Mashable. New developments in the world of military tech have spawned a new imaging system that will allow troops to see and detect living individuals as well as inanimate objects located behind walls, according via the use of artificial intelligence. This is one of those things that immediately can see being used in horrible ways. The technology named XAVER 1000. Do you think that's
Xavier?
Xavier or Xavier?
Xavier.
Was developed. I knew this kid who their name was like that, but they're like, it's Xavier. You got to pronounce the X hard.
The worst kind of parents. Whenever you
hard
read
X
something
or not.
and they just do like the crazy spellings and shit like that. Utah in general, people from Utah are the worst.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So this is a new generation product made to offer armed forces, law enforcement agencies, and intel operators and first responders the capability to perform their tasks more efficiently than ever before.
Okay, so we're not going to go through the technical jargon of
Yeah.
this article, so I'll explain it to you. So what this essentially is, I clearly can't explain the technology behind it, but I'll explain what it looks like and what they're using it for. There's this big, almost, whenever you have like an old wormhole, like in a cartoon where they'd be like, oh, you use this wormhole to travel from here to here.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of looks like that, like a black wormhole that they stick on a door or on a wall. And then there's like these little sensors on the inside. And then you have a 10-inch touchscreen that you use to control it. And in this, they do a thermal scan and an x-ray scan, and it combines that into one image. So you could see people walking around inside a room in real time. You could see where their outlines are, the heat signatures of everything in the room.
You can see if they fart.
Right. So exactly. If somebody's cooking or something like that, you can see. All I could think about is, sure, like going in house to house, like if you're in a place like Fallujah and you stick it on the wall and you're looking through, one, that's going to take a shit ton of time to set it up and get everything ready and like do that. It's going to cause a lot of noise. But two, there is no chance that that's what Marines and soldiers are primarily using that for. They're going to be looking at each other's dicks. Like they're going to take this back to the barracks, stick it on the wall, be like, how many fingers am I holding up? Where am I sticking this dildo? Like that's the kind of shit they're going to be doing.
Not to mention, I'm just thinking about this from a positive control standpoint and the idea that somebody's going to have to sign this out and be responsible for it because it's going to be expensive as hell. And that's just going to get lost or broken. And it's really, I don't know, going to be that effective.
Who's going to fix it? You're not going to have some fucking E3 fixing this thing.
No shot. No shot.
Now, I can see though, like FDNY pulls up to a giant burning building and they can scan and be like, okay, we don't have to go to this section. We know it's all over here. Like, here's where like, I can see it being really useful, but my God. Yeah.
It's when I think if you could extrapolate it out and use it like a drone, for instance, if you could have this type of technology and if you were a tactical unit and you're responding and they had a drone over the top that could show you inside the building where people are at, that would be unbelievably useful in this way. And look at me shitting on this technology. Like, this is clearly fucking awesome that they developed this.
Yes.
But I'm like, this thing fucking sucks. You can't even fly it over using a drone. It reminds me of that lieutenant colonel that thought that my dog sucked because I told him that we couldn't ride in a helicopter super low down the roads of fucking Fallujah so my dog could tell him where the IEDs were. Like, that's not the way it works, sir. Like, we can't
that's
do
not how
that.
this goes. Freaks me out, but specifically because before I had the baby, when I had I'll say it, pert boobs, I wouldn't have minded this. Somebody saw my pert boobs. Now I don't want anybody looking through them, not even if I'm in a fire.
Yeah, well, that is in one of the articles that I read about this. They did say it's not precise enough to be able to see any swingling giblets. Is the way that the article put
well,
it.
then that stinks too, kind of. Aren't you a little curious?
Swinging giblets. Yeah. Just when you thought your giblets were going to get complimented for being perky.
I'll also say, DARPA. How did they beat you to this?
True.
Where
It
was
might have been DARPA that actually made it. No, it wasn't.
No, it was an
Israel.
Israeli.
Yeah.
It was an Israeli firm. So I'm not shitting on DARPA.
Unbelievable. All right, let's move on to round number 5. What do we got here, Kate?
All right. Got a little Roe versus Wade chat here. So obviously people in the military don't get to choose where they serve. And the overturning of Roe means that a number of states where women are stationed will ban or criminalize abortion with no exceptions made for victims of rape, for even I was reading about in Ohio for medical reasons. Doctors there are like, I don't know what to do right now because my patient needs this and cannot get it. So what the fuck? Like, so now even more so women who are in the military in these spots, it's like not even like they chose to live in that state. They were just put there and now they're even more stuck. So what will happen to active duty military members who want an abortion? Traveling out of state is complicated. You have to get permission. We talked about this before on the other episode. Like, it's not a simple process. And like, even if you have a supportive command, there's just so much more to it. So it's already very difficult. And now it is that much more so.
And I don't think a lot of people who aren't in the military realize how difficult just the leave process is. So let me explain that a little bit.
Yeah.
If you are a military person and you're trying to go on leave, like let's take it back to Corporal Kate when she was in San Diego. Corporal Kate has to let her staff NCOIC know that she's going to be putting in her leave request. She also lets the officer in charge know. She has to go through those steps. Those two are not authorized to authorize leave, so it has to go higher. All along those ways, people want answers of why you're choosing to go on leave, why
they
you're
want
going
the who,
now.
what, where, when, why.
They want to know where you're going to be, what your mom's address is, what her phone number is. They need to check out your car. Like, it goes to the point where they will make sure that your oil levels are correct, that you have antifreeze, that you have fucking wiper fluid and all that shit before it gets approved. So the idea that military members that need an abortion or need a medical procedure can just go up to whoever and be like, hey, I'm going to be back in 2 weeks. That's just not the way it fucking works. And Secretary Austin and all the military leaders can say and have all this lip service about what they're going to do. I mean, if you can't get sexual assault under control in the ranks, how the fuck do you expect them to be able to trust you as far as something so sensitive that can end up causing them to go to jail? Like, some of the states are going to have lifetime imprisonment for abortion. Like, how can they trust you? There's been TikTok after TikTok, video after video of women in the Air Force that are coming forward and saying, we have reported everything that we're supposed to. We've gone to different levels of command. Somebody fucking help us out. So you have women screaming all in the military that we need these protections. And now they're going to have to go to those same people who aren't valuing their bodily autonomy as far as sexual assault and supposed to believe that they're going to be concerned about their medical condition. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, this further makes life much more difficult for women in the military. I feel like every time we start to make strides forwards, this was just a huge slap backwards. The Department of Defense says they will ensure that service members, their families, and civilian employees can have access to reproductive health care in the wake of the Supreme Court decision.
And how are they going to do that? There's no shot that shit actually happens. One, because the federal budget will not allow you to take leave to go on a medical procedure that they're going to pay for. Can you imagine the outcry of what would happen for essentially 50% of the senators and nearly 50% of the House if that was to happen? If you were going to say, we're going to use federally allocated funds to help somebody get an abortion, the right would lose their fucking minds. They just would.
Yeah. So Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin says they're examining the decision closely and evaluating their policies to ensure we continue to provide seamless access to reproductive health care as permitted by federal law. And
well,
again, like
so that's
said,
interesting.
That's
He puts that caveat.
But
he puts that caveat on the end of it there. He says, as permitted by federal law.
That's not permitted by federal law.
Right.
Yeah. Now he's kind of giving himself a little bit of an escape there.
Yeah.
Chaps, what do you say to the people who say, what's to prevent somebody, a young E4, from just going somewhere on the weekend without telling anybody? It's not like everybody wears LoJack. So what do you say? How do you explain that?
One, you're taking into consideration that these people are going to have the monetary funds to do that. As we know, with inflation and with gas prices and things like that, essentially everybody in the United States' paycheck has been reduced by about 9%. So if you're having that level of reduction in income, to expect somebody who's a PFC Lance Corporal, a second lieutenant, a first lieutenant, to have the money to go across state lines, to stay in a hotel, to pay for the procedure completely out of pocket, all of those different things, it's an incredible burden for something that. And what really pisses me off, and seeing all the different comments and things like on Dave Portnoy's tweet whenever he talked about that this is insanity that we're doing this type of thing. The response of being like, oh, this is about women not wanting to have birth control or not taking the appropriate steps. The amount of abortions that are performed for that purpose is so small anyway. A majority of them are for other purposes. It's just baffling the level of ignorance that people show when they comment on things like this, that has nothing to, a majority of abortions that take place is because there was a miscarriage or the life of the mother.
No, I don't like doing that. I don't like saying, well, actually, there's good reasons for, I think, any reason that a woman gets an abortion.
Yeah.
And no, a majority are not medical. A majority are women saying, I cannot or do not want to have this baby. Like there's all sorts of reasons. I just hate the parceling of like, well, here's why, and trying to justify why most of them happen. Like, no, we shouldn't have to do that.
Yeah, you're right.
We should just have autonomy over our bodies. And I think another huge problem is I think at the heart of it, it's religion coming into the government. That's the main force behind what drove
one
this.
type of religion, because
one type of religion,
Islamic faith, you're required to do it if the health of the mother is in danger before 90 days. Like there's all kinds.
But I just say if you don't like it, do not get an abortion, or make sure that your partner, if you're a guy, is completely on the same page as you. Otherwise, keep your penis in your pants and don't have sex or get your dick chopped off or something. Like, I just do not. And it, once again, it all falls on us. I saw fucking JD Vance again, that little bitch. He was talking about how, I guess, like, women, this is what women want, to be in the workplace working 90-hour work weeks. What happened to the motherhood? Like, this is where we're headed. We're ruining motherhood. But you know what motherhood is? Working fucking 300-hour weeks, 500-hour weeks, 1,000-hour weeks, free. It's free labor so that the man can go out of the house and do what he wants to do. Like, I'm rambling, but like, I'm just, there I go again. Like, I'm just so, I cannot believe this is where we're at. I'm seeing archaic arguments, like all the guys in my DMs and replying to my stuff. It's the shit that we learned in like 5th grade CCD class. Like, they're telling me Sunday school shit. Mm-hmm. Go look at real facts. Go look at who's getting abortions and why. It's educated women. It's women who are already mothers. The majority of are already mothers or will be mothers. I've gotten so many DMs from women who said, because I did a story saying like, the reason I have because people were like, how can you support abortion when you have this beautiful son now, when you have such a great baby? And it's actually made me even more pro-choice than ever before. I look at my son and how much I love him, and I picture him being placed into the life of somebody who didn't want him, and what that would mean for him and the suffering that would come from that. And it breaks my fucking heart. And I cannot imagine forcing what I went through in my pregnancy. Was so difficult. I was crawling on my hands and knees to the bathroom by the end and using a cane to get to work. I've still not physically recovered from it in many ways. Physically, mentally, everything. I would not, it works for me because I wanted it. You have to want it. If you don't, it's cruelty. It's cruelty to both the mother and the child. Like, the whole thing is just, I'm rambling again, but I cannot believe this is where we're at. I cannot believe it's men making this decision for us again. If you really look at the big picture, like, Katie rambles right now, but clearly I said I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to do. It's just annoying. If you're in Joint Base San Antonio, Fort Hood, Texas, Keesler Air Force Base, you've got over 500 additional miles to go now if you need to get an abortion, or if you want to get an abortion.
And even driving, not flying, even driving 550 miles is expensive right now.
I just picture where I was before and how difficult it was. And now with these new hurdles, like, that would have forced me to have a child. That would have changed the trajectory of my entire life into a place where I couldn't have mentally handled it at the time and physically. Like, it would have, like, for me, it would have ruined my life. Like, and sure, I would have taken like whatever, but my heart is broken for women who are going to be fucked because of this. And especially too, like, reading accounts, like you said, medical is another reason, like, to add additional stigma to what somebody's already going through. Like, what the fuck, to the heartbreak of that, to make it even harder and add a stigma to that is such a slap in the face to, like, such a soul crushing thing already. Like, what are we, like, to me, it's just so much cruelty. It's just cruel.
I didn't even know that was considered an abortion, where you have something that happens that late in a term and you have to, remove the fetus. I thought that was just like, okay, this is what we do when this happens. I didn't realize that was considered under
because
this whole umbrella.
Those who are against it have stigmatized abortion so much that I feel like I can't stop saying abortion. I had an abortion, and I keep wanting to talk about it now that I've said it, because for so long I was made to feel like I was a bad person and it should be a shameful thing.
It was the most loaded, and maybe still is the most loaded single word, like medically, that there is.
And they say, even now saying it, like they say one of the best things you can do is keep saying it, because people want you to use other words or to say it was for other reasons than that you wanted one or like whatever. And it's like, yeah, I had an abortion because I didn't want to have a baby.
I'm glad that you corrected me on that, Kate. I think it was worth it.
Yeah. But anyways, and I know your intentions are always good or whatever, but I just obviously I'm still like spinning. I can't believe that this is where we're at. But
and to me, like I think obviously the abortion issue, Roe on its own is enough, but you're foolish if you don't look at what's happening in the country and realize that there is a sharp turn happening. I mean, Justice Thomas put in some of the other landmark civil rights case, like things that have been fought for and won over the past 50 years and have been constitutionally protected under certain cases. And now it is not. Like you're talking about same-sex couples and so many Brown versus Board of Education, things like that. And there's one account on Instagram that I follow, and I think it's changed hands of who actually runs it, but it's OAFN Nation Actual is the name of it. And they posted a shit ton of stuff about Ukraine and always do a good job of covering current events in a very meticulous journalistic type of way. I appreciate what they do over there. But the guy who runs their social account put up a story, and I want to read it to you because I feel like it's incredibly powerful in this community, because I say a lot that we have a lot of listeners who aren't military, but we have a shit ton, a great majority of our listeners are military related. And this really hit me, and it made me have like a little bit of call to action to myself. He says, I have a ton of Republican friends. So do each of us on this show, and Cons as like more conservative than Kate and I for sure. We served in the Marine infantry together for years. We've stomped through, and he lists a bunch of different places that they went to combat together, doing guns and hood rat shit. The bond and that love will always be there because we always had each other's backs when it was time to. But fuck some of you guys who are such fucking pussies when it comes to disagreeing with your hard R dropping homies. There comes a time when you have to stand up to people who are actively being oppressed. And I know for a fact that some of you guys aren't okay with what's happening, but won't say a fucking thing. But let me tell you, that's why this shit is happening, because you've surrounded yourself with dudes who have grown so hateful over the years that you're now too scared to disagree with because they'll act like fucking psychopaths. You're scared. But I ask you, if someone that will turn on you in a second, you have, because you have a different opinion, really a friend, you rocking with that kind of unconditional or with conditional friendship, is that freedom? I thought this was a community of protectors, not one that sits by and watches the school bullies shove defenseless kids into trash cans because they want to fit in. We are better. We need to be better. I agree with that. I think that a lot of times people are so silent because they don't want to piss off some of their other friends. This is not what we fucking fought for. You don't fight for rights being taken back.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what freedom is about.
And I've said this a lot of times recently in the last couple of years, how I think disappointing it is when you see people who are just regurgitating the talking points that they are brainwashed. Not honestly, maybe brainwash is the wrong word, but they've been conditioned to take a certain stance on a certain issue, as opposed to taking every issue individually and deciding for themselves how they feel about said issue, as opposed to, let me just turn on my favorite channel, whatever that one might be, and now I'm going to parrot what I hear on there because that's how I'm supposed to think. When in fact, a lot of times you might not agree, and that's okay, but at least stand up and form your own opinion, as opposed to just falling in the ranks and being afraid to speak up because, as you said, you might alienate some others.
And on that topic, just really quick, going off the messages I got from men and women, and again, and if you look at the statistics, we all know and love people who have had abortions, and that includes, I don't know why we're not looking at men in this. Behind every single abortion, there is also a man. Like, and many of them are well aware and have helped that. And they're all being extremely quiet right now. And I understand not wanting to like out somebody or whatever, because it's so taboo. But if it was a long time ago, I feel like even if you're not saying specifically me in my experience, you should still be speaking up then. And you should still be standing up for women, because you have also benefited from abortion. Buddy, if you look at the US military, I know there's a whole lot of fellas out there who have benefited from abortion. And if they got someone pregnant in the military, like I was, the guy who got me pregnant, say I continued on with the pregnancy, his career would have been just fine. If I had wanted to stay in the military, mine would not have been. It was not a friendly place for mothers at the time, as I covered in the episode. Like men have benefited from this, and rich men and the ones speaking out against it will continue to benefit from abortion no matter what. So it doesn't matter to them. They'll be able to get it or get it for their whoever's no matter what. So I just can't believe this is where we're at. Ladies, if you're listening, or fellas, share this with people in your life. PlanCpills.org or 3THREE for freedom.com. Those are both information hubs where you can just look at information. Everything's coming out and you can find ways to help yourself, is all I'll say about that. I sound like a nut. That's how I feel
about this case. How do you guys consider it to be lying what the Supreme Court justices did? The four who have recently came on the court and said that they thought that Roe versus Wade was settled law. Do you think it's lying to go into detail and with senators and saying that it's settled law, and then to make it not settled law and overturn 50 years of precedent? Yes. Do you guys think that's lying and impeachable?
Yes.
I don't know if it's lying. I mean, because semantics, because they could say like, oh, I changed my mind. Either way, if you've taken a stance, and especially something that's been codified into law for 50 years, to go back on that, it's a little suspect, to say the least. Yeah,
and I agree with that concept. You can change your mind at times,
sure.
But if you're a jurist to the level where you're supposed to be a Supreme Court justice, the landmark cases of the country you're very familiar with. Like, right. You don't go through law school and all those things being like, Roe versus Wade, what is this fucking nonsense? Let me really parse this out and see how I feel about it. Like, they knew exactly what they're doing. Yeah.
Anyone who goes to law school, like, there's how many cases that you study and then that are used as precedent. So now what you're telling me is that, well, something that was used forever as precedent might not be precedent anymore, or isn't precedent anymore. That has a lot longer lasting effect than what I think some people are giving that credit for as well.
And it completely blows up the argument of people saying, well, it wasn't constitutional in the beginning and everybody knows it was a bad case. The four fucking justices that just voted to overturn it all said it was settled law and constitutional law. And then they overturned it. It makes no sense, man. Dave was right. It's fucking bizarro world that we live in, that we're going backwards as a country as far as rights. Insanity. And we've talked about it a lot. I mean, with the Heritage Foundation being 25th in freedom, that's going to go down. I mean, and one thing that I can't stand is when people are like, it's easier to get an abortion in Saudi Arabia than in the United States. One, that's incredibly fucking racist to like bring up those arguments. And two, there's a lot of things that we're behind in a lot of spots in the world. Education, fucking medical. We're the only major country in the world that doesn't have universal health care. We're the only major country, like, the education's going down instead of going up. It's fucking insane, man. We need to figure it out. Yeah. And that starts at the vote. Everyone's tired of hearing vote. But you got to fucking vote, man. You got to, because there's a clear difference. There just is, to me, anyways.
And whoever's in office, push for policies that help people and don't hurt people. Holy fuck. This is just going to hurt so many people. It's crazy. So.
All right, let's move on to save rounds and alibis. Nick, we'll start with you.
Yeah, just I got nothing today. Just want to remind everyone to please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Really appreciate your support.
Cons?
At the top of the show, you heard Chaps give an ad read for BetterHelp. Today is Monday, June 27th. It is PTS Awareness Day. So if you are feeling any sort of way, check that out. Reach out to somebody. Talk to somebody. That's totally great. And I applaud anybody and support anybody who wants to explore that a little further and get themselves any sort of attention that they may need. Don't feel embarrassed and continue forward with that. And then also today, I always make note, like when it's the first day called our day for the students at West Point that are starting their journey at West Point. But today it kind of hit me like a ton of bricks, because today is our day for the class of 2026, which will be my 20th anniversary class. And I'm not really sure where 2 decades of my life went, or, soon to be
Old.
2 decades. It's kind of crazy. I don't feel old, but I don't know. There's just a lot that's happening in 20 or soon to be 20 years. So it's just weird to think about. So
I feel big
that's all I
time
got.
old.
Yeah.
Kate, what about you?
You guys are old. I feel like I'm reflecting on that last round. I could have done that much better. And I think it's so emotional for me that I probably sounded like a crazy lady rambling.
Quit apologizing. Seriously, quit apologizing.
But I did. I
However
sounded like
you say it, you say it.
And I don't think it helps when somebody like me is just like, rah, 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 rah. Like if I was on the opposite side of that, I'd just be like, next episode, like whatever, I'm not listening to her.
Yeah, but I think that's the nature of politics. Even if you were as polite as can be, people aren't changing their minds for the most part. Like
and I'm not trying to change anyone's minds. I'm just saying if it's not for you, then don't do it. But don't push that on me because I mean, But
I think that's an important. No, Kate, I think that's an important distinction to make. Like, I don't think any of us is saying like if you don't believe in abortion that you need to now change your mind on that. Like, if you don't believe in it, then I support you with that. But don't then tell the other side that they're wrong. I just think that everybody should have their own choice.
I just think religion keeps encroaching in on all this shit and it's fucking all my shit up. Stop it. So that's my thought on that. I'm trying to think what else I have. The shore was lovely. Had a great time. Had some drinks. Had a couple cigs. I'll admit it. Cig by the beach in a lifeguard stand at night. And it was nice because my parents are there. I'm still not using babysitters yet. So to have a couple babysitter nights where I went out and the hiking around with them. No, that's all I got. I'm a lunatic right now. I feel fucking crazy. Ladies, I feel fucking crazy.
Well, you didn't seem crazy. You keep saying that you're rambling. I thought you were making coherent points and saying what you wanted to.
Okay.
But I thought it was good. My save round, I don't really have anything fucking shitty. Like it. I actually wrote this. I wrote a tweet that somebody said, do I feel worse about my service based on some of the things that have happened in the last 10 years in America? And my answer was no, but I do feel disillusioned. And I think disillusion is exactly how I feel. Before I joined the military, I think I would have bought into every aspect of stereotypical patriotism. And after seeing what we've seen the last 10 years, it's gone from unencumbered hope, like of what we were going to be, to you kind of grin and bare your teeth every single time you open up Twitter and you're going to see a breaking news summary because you never know what it's going to be and how bad it's going to be. I mean, think back to 2001, whenever, or 1999, I think it was. No, 2099, Columbine happened and the entire country stopped. Like it was almost like 9/11-esque when people were watching the news and watching everything unfold and all of the different things. The fact that we had 200 mass shootings in June in the United States is insane. And I don't know how you recapture some of that hope that we all had at one point, but it's got to come back, because if it doesn't, we're in a grave spot. And I think that there's a lot of people that are cheering on that grave spot that we're in and sowing division, sowing not finding commonality and things like that. But in a lot of these things, there is no commonality. You can't attack the personhood and the liberty and the righteousness of people and then expect them to work with you across the aisle. It does not work that way. And people have got to return to some type of kindness. And if we don't, we are truly fucked. It's on the retreat.